Hello, and today in AP Comparative Government, I'm going to be talking about the Chinese government. That is, the structure of Chinese government institutions. One of the things I will tell you at the outset is if you haven't watched the lecture on the CCP or Chinese Communist Party, you definitely want to do that first. And the reason that you want to do that first is that it's very obvious that China is a party state. That is, the party controls all aspects of the government. So, repeatedly throughout today's presentation, I'm going to be reminding you that while we can talk about Chinese government structure, the reality is China is an authoritarian state in which all levels of government are controlled by the party. China's political system is divided into three major institutions: the CCP, the government, and the military. The government and the military, however, are subordinate to the CCP, the leading political entity that determines the national policy agenda. Likewise, in China, power is delegated oftentimes to areas that are either called districts, they can be called special districts, they can be called cities, they can be called townships. And so you see on the right side of the screen, it starts with the Central Committee in Beijing, but power then is distributed all the way down to the township. So local villages can still have both party officials and government officials in their area. That being said, the CCP controls all of these. So, in a nutshell, and I talked about this the last lecture about how the Chinese government structure, in many ways, mirrors the structure of the CCP. So, where the CCP has the National Party Congress, the government of China has what's called the National People's Congress. It's about as big, 3,000 members. Whereas the National Party Congress with the CCP meets every 5 years in the fall. The National People's Congress meets every 5 years in the spring. Now, because the National People's Congress meets only every 5 years, when it is not in session, a special standing committee meets to handle the legislative requirements and needs of the day. From the National People's Congress, some members are moved on to the State Council. Those who are moved on to the State Council, again, that is determined by the CCP. And then it's the State Council that's really in charge of running the different branches of government. Runs the military, what's called the PLA, or People's Liberation Army. Runs the judiciary. It also runs something called the CCDI, which is the Central Commission for Disciplinary Inspection. When someone is removed from their post, and oftentimes removed from the party, it's the CCD that does that. So it's that organization that's sort of in charge of winnowing down what government officials move on and what government officials do not move on. Because as we'll see in a second, when I talk about Xi Jinping's path to success, many government officials are not successful at a certain point in their posting, and they don't get a second chance, generally speaking, and they don't move on. There's also the Central Organization Department, or COD. The COD, even though it's not on the screen, functions like a huge human resources department. It's the organization that assigns all these hundreds of thousands of different government officials to their roles throughout China, though, again, that's all controlled by the CCP. Right now, the person who's in charge of the State Council, so that organizing body that manages the branches, his name is Li Kuang. Li Kuang is a close ally of Xi Jinping and by and large considered to be the second most powerful man in China, though that's like saying the difference between a normal sized gorilla and King Kong is that the gorilla is the second largest gorilla. That's the disparity of power that we're talking about here. Whoever is in charge of the State Council is called the Premier. The National People's Congress is also in charge of electing the president and vice president. The president is the head of government. It's also, in this case, the head of the party, because Xi Jinping is both president and secretary, which gives him all the control. The office of vice president in China doesn't do anything. In fact, it's oftentimes used as a dumping ground. If you want to get rid of somebody or remove them from the system of promotion, you make them a vice president. There are 22 provinces in China, plus Taiwan, which China considers to be a part of its sovereign land. Depends on who you ask, whether or not it actually is. But there are 22 provinces. Each of these have government officials. Within these provinces, there are tons of different districts. There can be cities, municipalities, townships. Tibet is considered to be a special district in and of itself. Hong Kong is a special district. So there's a lot of different levels of government. None of that is particularly important for our purposes, but just understand it's not federalism. Like there's no power sharing between Beijing and these different provinces. It's still a unitary state. So all the power, all the directives are all issued from the CCP in Beijing, oftentimes through the National People's Congress. Another thing to keep in mind when we talk about the government in China is the MSP, or the Ministry of Public Security. I want to say two things about this. Number one is because China is, I'm not sure if it would qualify as a police state yet, but it certainly is on the cusp of becoming a police state. A police state is when your activities are monitored by the states at all times. In order to do that, you need a lot of domestic police. And China has a lot of domestic police. This is not something that the PLA, or People's Liberation Army, does. This is something that's done through the Ministry of Public Security. The other thing I want to tell you about the Ministry of Public Security is it ties into sovereignty and how we treat sovereignty in this course. And the way it does that is as follows. The Ministry of Public Security is not only interested in clamping down on the CCP's political enemies within China, it's also interested on clamping down on those enemies outside of China. China has, of course, and these oftentimes, I must remind you, are accusations, but China has oftentimes been accused of infringing on other states' sovereignty by using the MSP and its agents to kidnap political dissidents in other countries, to assassinate individuals, or to take on other clandestine operations in other states. So I want you to think of it as almost like a blob. A blob is sort of this amorphous thing that just kind of grows and grows and grows and gets larger. Within China itself, the MSP has control over just about everything. But even outside of China, you can sort of see the tentacles moving around the globe in different ways. Now, the last thing I want to do is kind of walk through Xi Jinping's career and show you how he's, in some ways, very emblematic of how you move through the Chinese government and through the CCP, and in some ways, how he's kind of an exception. So, Xi Jinping is what's considered to be a princeling in China, which means he didn't live through the revolution. His father did, and his father wound up in one of Mao's various purges, being exiled to the country. So Xi Jinping is born in a very rural, poor area. He ultimately attends college for chemical engineering. Xi Jinping has a lot of degrees. There's a lot of argument about whether or not those degrees are work anything. But the interesting thing that his path shows you, both about the CCP and about the Chinese government, is that it is most common for people who advance all the way up through the CCP into the Politburo and beyond. The way they do that is not by working their careers steadily in Beijing. The way they do that is by proving their mettle in the provinces, and oftentimes in the coastal provinces because these are where the special economic zones are. This is just simply because of geography. This is where a lot of China's factories are. This is where you see a lot of Chinese economic growth. And Xi Jinping, both in Fujian and in Xi'an between 1999 and 2007, was very successful in these coastal provinces. He was able to successfully execute a lot of government strategies in ways that saw tremendous economic growth. One thing, if we're talking about Chinese government in a broad sense, though, that I should point out is that this emphasis on growth can be a little bit of a double edged sword in China. And what I mean by that is for the Chinese government, growth is everything. Officials typically are appointed, let's say a governorship, for 5 years. So you're appointed in your post for 5 years. Whether or not you get a promotion or a demotion, essentially out of the race, totally depends on how much economic growth you're able to foster in an area. That leads to adverse incentives. That's the double edged sword I was talking about. Because oftentimes, local officials, the incentive is to boost the economic productivity of your assigned region as much as possible in your 5 years without any thought whatsoever about what happens when you leave that post. So, what you see happening in a lot of cases is officials borrowing a lot of money, taking on a lot of debt, doing a lot of short term economic programs to try to get those numbers up within that 5 year period. And then the economy simply collapses after they leave because it can't bear the burden of the debt. So, Xi Jinping was elected party secretary of Shanghai in '07. Same year, he was moved up to the Politburo. So now he's going up through the ranks of the Chinese government, but he's also very much going up through the ranks of the CCP. He was in charge of the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, incredibly successful. In 2008, that same year, he is designated the successor to the current party secretary and becomes general party secretary in 2012. Then in 2018, Xi Jinping eliminated term limits, meaning, at least for the foreseeable future, there is no indication whatsoever that Xi Jinping is going to step down, making him effectively the entirety of the Chinese government.